O que acende a sua vontade de começar algo? Tem uma faísca em você que te chama para empreender, investir, dar novos rumos para sua vida. E para todos os seus começos, você pode contar com Santander Select. Um banco mais pessoal, mais próximo, mais humano. Um time de especialistas com olhar atento para cada momento da sua vida. Porque você sabe, só quem já deu muitos passos está pronto para continuar começando. Santander Select. Começa em você, começa agora.
Talk Radio 77 WABC.
So Curtis Sliwa was your upcoming host. And you know what, Curtis? I don't know what to say anymore. NJ Transit, stop me if you've heard this one, has issues today. Today, it's the North Jersey coastline. And signal problems, a drawbridge, signal problems or something like that. It's broken. It's not working. It's a failure. NJ Transit is a disaster. It's a nightmare every single day. I have to tell you, when I'm walking to Penn Station every day, I start to twitch and shake a little bit. I say, well, maybe today will be better.
Oh, wait.
Maybe today the trains actually will be running.
What do you do when you walk over to Penn Station? You twitch and do what?
And shake.
That's what the crackheads do when they're looking to beam themselves up to Scotty, when they need 2 balls of crack to go into the glass pipe to beam themselves up to Scotty.
Unfortunately, my fix is just a good, smooth commute. But I can't get a fix.
You can't wait to get the hell out of Gotham City. And I don't blame you. It's like Escape from New York out to bucolic Bloomfield in Essex County outside of Newark. Newark. You can't wait to get out there to do your gardening because people don't realize this, that James Flippin, in addition now to being part of the ever-expanding list of talk show hosts and hostesses here at WABC, part of the boot camp that I drill out people into, is an accomplished gardener. You know, we have the animal welfare show, Nancy and I, Sunday nights. I'm going to see if I can convince John and Margot Katz-Matidis, for all of our listeners who garden, why not gardening tips from James Flippin?
I would love to do that. I've got some great tomatoes in the backyard right now. I've got both grape tomatoes, and I've also got the slightly larger ones that are called, I guess, not grape. I can't even remember.
Well, wait. Now, hold on a second. Gardener Flippin.
Plum tomatoes.
Gardener Flippin. Tomatoes, or tomatoes, as you say, in Jersey is considered a fruit.
That's true.
A fruit.
Yeah.
Whereas here in New York State, we know it's a vegetable.
Oh, is that true?
Of course it is.
Oh, I see.
mean, what kind of schmucks think that it's a fruit? When you find it, is it in the fruit section or the vegetable section, right?
So that's your determination. It's
my grandfather, Fidel Bianchino, used to grow the tomatoes. The infamous Godfather. Remember that last scene when he's running around chasing his grandchildren?
He tells them to go away.
And then he drops dead, right? And Bob the Torch Torricelli, the former U.S. Senator, who is now growing tomatoes in his tomato patch somewhere in Middlesex, New Jersey, that crook. I mean, yeah, you really are acknowledgeable. I love it when Greg Kelly has you on and he's like repulsed at the fact you're a gardener. Does he not realize that most people in America are gardeners to one respect or another?
I don't know. He didn't seem to like it too much when I was very excited about my hydrangeas.
Man, does he have no idea of the billions of dollars that are spent in that industry?
You know, he's a New York guy, a city guy. You know, you sort of let your...
No, hold on. He's Garden City. That's not a city guy.
Appropriate.
A lot of gardeners.
Garden City. Right. Who would have thought?
A lot of gardeners in Garden City.
So, you mentioned, obviously, the iconic scene with the Godfather dropping dead. Can I just take it back to NJ Transit for a second?
Of course, because where is half in the bag Murphy?
Because Governor Murphy, 6 years ago, he vowed that he would fix NJ Transit if it kills him.
Of course.
In other words, he said, okay, if I have to drop dead,
well, wait a second,
I will get this fixed.
What'll kill him first? Alcohol poisoning or trying to fix NJ Transit?
I'm not aware of that.
Remember,
I understand you.
He is not functional until happy hour at night. He has shakes all day long. So you got to understand, he had that interview with Tucker Carlson in the middle of the lockdown and pandemic and said liquor stores were an essential business. And everybody said, why? He says, because I need the liquor stores open to be able to function.
Well, so 6 years ago, he sat down for an interview with CBS.
Yes.
And he said this about NJ Transit.
It won't be, overnight. It won't be a miracle overnight. But sooner than later, folks will say, you know what? Things have changed at NJ Transit.
Now you know why Tammy Faye Baker Murphy decided not to run for U.S. Senate. Because remember, she was making the rounds. She was favored over Congressman Kim, who ultimately won the Democratic nomination to replace Menendez. She had all the big shots, Norcross. Oh, we're going to update you on Norcross, too. Everybody, they were all surrounding her. She's our next U.S. Senator. Yet meeting after meeting, people were saying, what the hell's going on with New Jersey Transit? What the hell's going on with New Jersey Transit? Finally, in a fit of rage, she said to her husband, would you put that scotch bottle down and address this situation, or I can't run for U.S. Senate? So she dropped out. It's all because of New Jersey Transit. And they claim the overhead wires are always in the heat. If it's 65 degrees or over, the overhead wires are not working. Mm-hmm. What? I mean, why? You know, back in the days of the West, when we were pushing out west, right? When the Irish were building the railroad out west and the Chinese were coming, from the West Coast, right in the middle, Salt Lake City, right? That's where. And then they told all the Chinese, well, thanks for dropping dead while building the railroad. We'll get the hell out of here. Go back to China. That railroad ran far more functionally than New Jersey Transit.
It's amazing when you think about it. I mean, this is old technology that we're talking about, the trains. But yeah, this I don't know what to believe anymore. I think that's the truth.
I'll tell you what you can believe about crooked New Jersey politics, the Soprano state. Although our own state of New York gives you a run for the money. There he was, Bobby Menendez. He had his older sister using the line, the reason that he was stuffing this scarole in his designer jacket pockets and the gold bars in his boots was because it was cultural to Cubans.
For 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba.
So what does he do? He hides behind his older sister's apron strings, and she goes up on the stand, the only defense he has in this case. Oh, but this was cultural to our family. And can you imagine if you're a female juror, you've heard, 7 weeks of testimony, of cross, of closing, and you say this dirtbag is blaming it all on his wife, who's probably having a double mastectomy as we speak for breast cancer? Who came up with that defense? Blame it on my wife. I'm the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. I'm dealing with world leaders. But my wife, I was the Maytag to my wife. My wife did it all. I had no idea. I was like Sergeant Schultz. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil in Hogan's Heroes, Stalag 13. That defense ain't going to work. And now they got Norcross in the crosshairs. Norcross got indicted yesterday. These were the two big capo di tutti. Norcross had South Jersey for the Democrats. The crook Menendez had North Jersey. Even Shamu, El Jefe, Chris Christie, sailing up and down the Jersey shore from Wildwood to Point Pleasant. Even he had to bow and kiss the ring of Norcross and Menendez at that time by saying, you see, I'm bipartisan. I could be president of the United States. He's still saying that out there about 7 miles off the Jersey shore. Do you think he could go out there, James Flippin, and just harpoon him?
No, Chris Christie.
There she blows!
That's my white whale.
Yeah, why not? Come on.
I'm pretty sure that even Chris Christie is protected against harpoon attacks.
Do a public service, because really it's because of him that you don't have that ARC tunnel.
That's true.
They were building it, and all of a sudden his olive oil wife, what was that, Mary Pat, said, I don't want that tunnel. And he immediately said, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
And why was that? Because you told me that once off the air before.
She didn't want to walk a block from Penn Station over to Herald Square, over to Macy's. After millions were spent, now that would have meant New Jersey Transit would have had its own tracks, would not have had to share it with Amtrak. But oh no, Mary Bell, what the hell is her name? Mary Pat Mary, whatever, olive oil I call her. Did you ever see a couple that was more opposite one another? Shamu El Jefe, Chris Christie, and the skinny Bellini, Mary Pat. I mean, and she called all the shots in that household. So no matter how much the bluster, when the guys are all big and bad and, hey, who remember he chased that guy on the boardwalk at Seaside Heights because he had bought 2 cones and he was double fisting, and the guy goes, hey, You think you ought to not be eating ice cream, fat boy? And he ran after the guy. The state troopers had to hold tough guy Chris Christie back. But with his wife, Mary Pat, anything you say, Mary Pat. Yes, Mary Pat. Yes, Mary Pat.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture of Chris Christie and Mary Pat years ago. He was thin. He was very thin back then. So I guess that's when they first got together.
Well, when all of a sudden he endorsed Donald Trump, and Trump would send them out to the McDonald's, to get the orders for Trump Air, when they'd be leaving a campaign location, 48 Big Macs, and he would come back with like 20 Big Macs. The supersized fries were gone, little tidbits of fish fillets in there. And Trump would say to Chris Christie, you wanted to be vice president. You wanted to be my chief of staff. I can't even trust you with a McDonald's order. It's true. He would eat it all on the way back.
You're making that up.
No, he was on his way to being vice president, right?
You're making that up.
Mike Pence would never do that, right?
That's true.
Hey, man, Eagle Scout, a religious boy.
Especially imagine if there was a woman there.
No, you can't give me my order here. I can only be, my wife must be here first before you give me my McDonald's orders in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
What a mishigash. But anyway, I want you to go outside and fume even more about New Jersey Transit, because New Jersey Transit sucks because of half in the bag Murphy, your governor, who's missing in action.
It's the Rip and Read.
Talking about
featuring Curtis Sliwa. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa. Rip and Read. Check this out.
This is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa.
Talking about
now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa. This is the Rip and Read.
All beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and
Oh, it's like smelling sauce to me. Could you play that again, Lou, in a loop there? Yes. How many years I was a night manager of Mickey D's from 1976, Justin Ellick, up in the Bronx, to 1979, the end of it, when Ronald McDonald summoned me from Oakbridge, Illinois, outside of Chicago, international headquarters. They stupidly moved into Chicago. How's that working out with the socialist Mayor Johnson? And they've since, in New York City, they had about 650 McDonald's. They're down to about 530. A lot of them, they're closing because of crime. And I was up in the Bronx in between shows when I sat with Sid, as I do every Monday through Friday at 7:15. You don't want to miss it. If not, just catch it on the podcast. Go to WABCRadio.com. And I was in front of the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and his wife, Mrs. Diaz, who host in their church in the heart of the South Bronx the Hispanic Clergy Coalition, which has gone beyond just Hispanics. I mean, they have OAs, Original Africans, which populate the Bronx. They have West Indians, which populates the Bronx, and they also have African Americans. But more importantly, I was able to regale them in how I journeyed from Brooklyn back in 1976, from Osborne and Hegeman in Brownsville, never ran, never will, where I was living for 2 years, and then decided it was time to respond to the call of Ronald McDonald up in the Bronx. I saw a advertisement. They were hiring managers in Bronx McDonald's, and I thought, gee, it's Ronald McDonald. And Justin Ellick, you know who gave me my interview? The Hamburglar. Because the Hamburglar at that time was the most popular figure in the McDonald's line of products. Crime was off the hook. So I went for my interview to Allerton Avenue and White Plains Road, which was the training McDonald's. And it was like Little House on the Prairie. Quiet. Pelham Parkway, right down the road from Columbus High School. Mostly Jews, Italians, Irish, some Puerto Rican, some black, but relatively quiet. I lived a few blocks north on Burke Avenue. An old Italian guy owned this apartment building. I hated it, but, you know, it was what I had to do at that time. It was my first marriage to a woman who was from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Corinne Drayton. She didn't really want to be in the Bronx, but I told her, hey, when am I going to go back to Brownsville? The brothers there want to kill me, and I can't take you over to Canarsie because my cousins, the Supreme Cuisines, want to string me up. It was not the time of jungle fever. There was no acceptability of that, but it was what it was. And I learned how to become a night manager at Mickey B's at Allerton Avenue and White Plains Road. Eventually shipped over to East Fordham and Webster, which was out of control, gangs everywhere. And I got that McDonald's back in shape. You can actually see it in the documentary Vigilante with my partner Don Chin, who was my training manager, who said, you could either do it the McDonald's way and we'll carry you out with 6 and I'll give you a great eulogy, or you can do it the Don Chin way, the Vigilante way. And I chose life over death, and I did it the Don Chin way, and it was a good store. Now, if you go to East Fordham and Webster, some of you will be going there. It's lunchtime, and you know what, Justin Alec? It's got a padlock. Because McDonald's Corporation in Chicago, of all places, Chicago, the most out-of-control city, said they could not find an owner or a manager to run that McDonald's. Too many pimps, too many prostitutes, drug dealers, drug users, homeless, emotionally disturbed in the lobby. So they padlocked it. So you pass that. That's the shrine of where I started the Guardian Angels, February 13, 1979. It's padlocked. The McDonald's I trained in, 2 young boys shot, suspect still on the lam. People are like, man, it's getting so bad, and it is. So I had to trek up to the South Bronx. I had to pay tribute to the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and his Hispanic clergy coalition that has expanded. There are Democrats there are Republicans. But probably for some of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, when you saw Donald Trump before 20,000 supporters in Crentona Park at the end of May, and boy, that was the turning point. Mostly black, mostly Hispanic, some white, some Asian, all different ages. To hear President Donald Trump speak, most of the background work, most of the heavy lifting was done by the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., a lifelong conservative Democrat. It's like an oxymoron. I don't think there's been a conservative Democrat since Mario Biaggi was running for the mayoralty from the Bronx. He was both a Democrat and he got the Conservative Party endorsement. It's a rarity. And he remains a Democrat. Unlike Dov Hikind, who has become a Republican, he has remained a Democrat. So there were Democrats in this religious hall. There were Republicans. And everybody knows Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. from that moment he was on the stage with President Donald Trump towards the end of Trump's speech, when he recognized all the people who made it possible, especially the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and the Bronx Hispanic coalition of ministers.
Mr. President, I want to join you in having the Bronx great again. Please accept this Democrat, this black Puerto Rican with a kinky hair and a broken English. Please accept my endorsement for you as a president. Thank you very much.
Now, Justin, like I always watch my back. That's how I've survived for 70 years. There's no doubt this is how the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and the Bronx Hispanic Clergy Coalition has made their bones. They were in the forefront of organizing that rally for President Donald Trump, which was, for me, the turning point. And from that moment forward, all those supporting Biden realized we're losing the Hispanic vote, we're losing the black vote. But when I walked in early this morning, you know, I had to come back here. You give me a microphone like last night at the Whitestone Republican Club. I was substituting for Dick Morris, who had called in sick at the last second. So I was there lickety-split. Once you give me the microphone, as you know, Justin and Ellie, you don't necessarily get it away. So I brought with me my trusted guardian angel, senior director Arnaldo Salinas, proud Puerto Rican, born on the island, grew up in the South Bronx, for 3 reasons. A, he's always been side by side with me in organizing the Guardian Angels. 2, he was translating what I was saying, because it's difficult when I say terms like Uzi-toting, dope-sucking, psychopathic killing machine. Normal translator like Sean Penn in that movie would never have been able to do it. Or the geriatric espresso-sipping psychotic killers of organized crime. Now, Arnold knows me, so he knows that. Other translators, they would have been befuddled. And when I first walk into the chambers of the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr., he offers me breakfast. He offers me the Dominican and traditional breakfast of mangú. And I looked at him, Justin, and I said, no way. Because remember, I know that the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and the Bronx Hispanic Clergy Coalition has had Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo there to speak many times over the years, my enemy of all enemies. For those of you who are not cognoscentes, mangú, man, that's an ICU visit waiting to happen. Man, that's ER. You know, you get your Dominican salami there, you know, your green plantains, your fried eggs. Forget it. You'll be in the ICU. And I was going to say, hey, you got the mofongo, you know, the Puerto Rican alternative. And I said, no, man, that's Cuchi Frito hell. And deep fried pork, right? Fried pork skins, mashed green plantains. Chicharron. So I said, nah, just have a cup of coffee. But I could tell it was Bustelo and not El Pico, which I like. See, we don't know yet where the Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. will go in the upcoming mayoral election, because remember, he's still a Democrat. So there will be a spirited Democratic primary. Let me tell you, our vast audience, what I told that audience up in the South Bronx today. That the minority will soon be the majority. Hispanics in America, whether you like it or not, you should not fear this. They're God-fearing people. They raise their families traditionally. They believe in education. They support the police, and they support the military. Yes. Look at poll after poll. Hispanics, in the way they live their lives, have more things in common with Republicans than Republicans would know. Except they're not going to vote for you if you never visit them. If they've never seen you in their neighborhood, they're not going to vote for you. They'll vote for the Democrats that they've always voted for. It's time now, Republicans. Scrape the barnacles off your backside. Get your rear in gear. You have to go into neighborhoods where the only Republican they've ever seen is Abraham Lincoln on a $5 bill. Trump has paved the way. I certainly have done my fair share over the last 46 years, and it's time to have that urge to merge between moderate Democrats, Republicans, independents, because we outnumber the crazed liberal progressive Democrats of AOC, all-out crazy Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, leader of the Socialists of America, who was called by the crowd a bruja. You know what that means, Justin? Oh, that's right. You don't know what that means. You're learning to speak Hebrew, right? A little bit of Yiddish, I'll teach you that too. Just stay tuned. This movement cannot be stopped. Bringing moderate Democrats, independents, and Republicans together to take back our country, take back New York State from Kathy Hochul and from the swagger man with no plan, Eric Adams.
Check this out. It's the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Talking about.
This is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
I'd like to be able to. Anyway. My mind's going blank now. What's happening? I can't remember. Lose track. My mind's going blank now. What are you talking about? What the hell's going on here? Where the door? My mind's going blank now. I can't remember. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. What am I doing here? My mind's going blank now. Where am I heading? I keep forgetting I'm president. Where am I? No idea. I don't think as
commander-in-chief, right, in charge. Scranton Joe Biden, well, you all thought he was. But now we've seen with like the Loch Ness Monster rising out of Lake Como, Looney Clooney with his full-page op-ed, and the old gray lady, the New York Times, saying, hey, Biden, it's time to go. I love you like a brother, but it's time to go. I raised you $30 million, but I realized then you were inept and you were going to lose to Donald Trump, but we gave you the money anyway. And who was whispering in Looney Clooney's ear?
'Cause I got a crush on Obama, I wait till 2008. Baby, you're the best candidate. I like it when you get hot on Hillary in debate. Won't you pick up your phone? 'Cause I got a crush on Obama, I wait till 2008. Baby, you're the best candidate up in the Oval Office.
So it is a party that is involved in idolatry, where they're thinking of Barack Obama. Oh, Barack, if only you could come back and save us, Barack. Smooth operator. If only Michelle would leave Martha's Vineyard, your summer home, and save our party in her hometown, Chi-Town, in late August. But the shadow president, not in terms of his color, it's just a metaphor, but the shadow president is really Barack Obama. We see that now. All of a sudden, you see that the schmuck, the putz, Chuck E. Cheese, Schumer, publicly I'll say I like Biden, but this guy's a backstabber of the worst type. We've always known Schumer's a backstabber. And then we saw Jerry the Whale Nadler join four of his congressional Democratic leaders after talking to Hakeem Jeffries, another guy who can be wine-dined and pocket-lined. I mean, this guy, he's got, like, his hands wide open for money. And whatever Barack Obama says, Hakeem Jeffries will do, because Barack Obama is the shot caller now. He's taken over lock, stock, and barrel, because Team Biden basically wants to hijack the presidency for another 4 years. Except when you appointed Hunter Biden as your consigliere, that was it. All bets off. They're all jumping ship. Gerald Nadler's the only one who did the reverse jump. Isn't it strange, Justin? The whale, Gerald Nadler, who is has cognitive issues himself, falls asleep during committee hearings. If you ever see him sitting, you look at his trouser pants, he's got the biggest zipper that the world has ever seen. It goes almost 9 miles. The guy is in so many ways somebody who should be resigning. In New York Magazine, he said he wanted to serve another 10 years, that he's, of course, just like Biden, said he's astute. He comprehends everything, even when he's sleeping through committee hearings. And then he jumped back. He was warned by Team Biden, and hey, we got your file. We'll expose you, whale. And Gerald Nadler came back to Team Biden while everybody else is jumping ship. It is absolute chaos. It is mishigash. But in charge of the SS Democratic Party, ready to sail into the port of Chicago in Lake Michigan at the end of August, is Barack Obama. There's no doubt about it. Looney Clooney from Lake Como in Italy would not be writing that editorial without his strings being pulled by Barack Obama. There is no way. Axelrod, product of the crooked Democratic machine in New York. He's not from Chicago. He's New York. Made his bones in Manhattan and the Bronx. Would not be calling for the coup d'etat against Joe Biden unless Barack Obama was telling him it was A-OK. Not a yellow light, a green light. And if you want to know about the actor Looney Clooney, that's what I call him. I guess he chose to reside, his primary residence, in Lake Como in northern Italy because his politics was always very reflective of the patriarch of the Cuomo family, spelled a little differently. But maybe his affinity for Mario Faccia Brutta Cuomo caused him to set up the mansion right there on the lip of Lake Como, and he could pay ode to Mario Faccia Brutta Cuomo, King Cuomo I, whose son, Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo, King Cuomo II, sitting out there at his mansion. Actually, he's copping a squat there as he stirs the marinara sauce and hits the mattress with his wartime consigliere, Joe Picoco, with his Louisville Sluggers, who got out of federal jail after doing 6 years for busting heads and legs, metaphorically, for Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo, and before that, Mario Faccia Brutta Cuomo. But in that mansion, it's Fredo, Chris Cuomo. And I'm telling you tomorrow, there's war between me and Sid. I'm telling you right now, Justin, before you head to that mistake by the lake of Lake Michigan, Milwaukee. This idolatry that you let O'Reilly get away with this morning for Chris Cuomo, it made me want to projectile vomit on the Bruckner Expressway on my way up to the South Bronx. What the hell was this? Oh, Cuomo is good. In fact, I'm going to take a piece of that interview, it is back and forth with Cuomo, on a network that nobody watches. By the way, Justin Alec, they claim it's a cable network. In order to see once a week O'Reilly beat the hell out of Fredo, Chris Cuomo, do I have to get rabbit ears and put it up on my TV antenna? I mean, what? Nobody watches Cuomo on that cable network. It used to be CNN, the Cuomo National Network, and then he got sacked, rightfully so. Well, he spent a half hour promoting this show. Fredo, Chris Cuomo, who was so vapid, he's got a muscle between both of his pretty boy ears. He's a real jadrul, a real knuckle dragger, who claims that he was upset at being called Fredo, and yet tomorrow, and I'll play it again to remind Sid, I asked him about that years before that. I said, oh, does that make you Fredo? And he said, yes. You remember that, right, Justin Ellick? So what the hell are you and Lou complicit and enabling Sid because O'Reilly just beats the hell out of him in promoting Cuomo? What is he, at the altar of Fredo? Of Chris Cuomo? Oh, the greatest show on television. Well, you can't even find it on cable. You can't even find it on TV. You need rabbit ears. And what the hell? Chris Cuomo's stupid. He was my radio partner for a month. They tried to make him into a radio guy in between gigs when he was going from Good Morning America to Nightline with Ted Koppel, and he was trying to negotiate a contract. So WABC then said, hey, I bet you he'd be a good talk show host. Let's put him on with Curtis in the afternoons. For a whole month, the guy never had an opinion. The guy is stupid. He's a stunad. He truly is Fredo. Then all of a sudden, CNN, he had an opinion about everything. You're going to hear the cut. You ain't going home, Justin. We're going to get this cut where O'Reilly is beating the hell out of Chris Cuomo. I guess he doesn't want good competition. And Cuomo keeps calling himself stupid. I'm stupid. He doesn't even realize what he's saying. Oh, that's it. It may well be that before Sid heads off to that mistake by the lake, and why did the Republicans choose Milwaukee? They could have chosen Phoenix. That's a purple state, just like Wisconsin is a purple state. Does he know what he's going to? He has no idea. And tomorrow, I'm going to give him the underbelly tour, courtesy of my senior guardian angel there, the Reverend Willie Brooks from North Milwaukee, the hood. Because, I'm going with the Long Island delegation. I'm going, no, Sid. You're going to go on the Belly of the Beast tour in Milwaukee. I don't know why the Republicans chose that city. They should have chosen Phoenix. Phoenix is up for grabs. It's a purple city. It is the number one destination for Americans in the nation to move. Phoenix. Everybody's moving out of Milwaukee. I'd like to know who got kickbacks for having the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. I really would. And tomorrow, you don't want to miss it at 7:15 before Sid's departure. If he defends O'Reilly and defends Chris Cuomo, I'm walking out. Because that means that Sid has sold out.
It's the Rip and Read.
Talking about
Featuring Curtis Sliwa. Talk Radio 77 WABC. Talk Radio 77 WABC. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
Curtis doesn't know about you, but he rips and reads.
This is the Rip and Read. It's the left versus the right. In the right corner, Dominic Carter. In the left corner, it's Anthony Weiner. Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios, it's a 77 WABC debate. The melee in the metropolis.
Oh, before we get to the debate, Anthony Weiner, apparently there's a young male influencer who has been recruited by NATO because of his fascination with the movie that should have propelled you to become Looney Clooney in Hollywood, Sharknado. We played cuts of that in the past. People have seen that cult classic, Sharknado, where you were in charge of NASA.
Yeah, Sharknado 3, I think I was on.
Yeah, but you were in charge of NASA.
I was, and that was when we were being attacked by from outer space sharks coming from outer space or something.
Right, but who is this young guy that has now been embraced by NATO?
Well, the problem is Joe Biden also thinks NATO is from Sharknado. That's the problem.
Well, wait, let me give you some classic lines of our own Anthony Weiner, who was on his way to an Academy Award before Looney Clooney ended up taking the award. Here is Anthony Weiner as the head of NASA talking about probably the most famous lines you had in the whole movie.
The Sharknado wall is going to hit. Let's move it, people.
The Sharknado wall is going to hit. Let's move it, people. Do you remember that? How many times did you have to do that line?
Listen, that's why they threw me my SAG card. You know, if anyone's listening and they mean to be a bit player on one of Sid's movies, I'm here for you.
And don't ever call Anthony Weiner short on law and order. He was willing to bring in the National Guard.
No, we'll send in the National Guard to protect the shuttle.
See that? Right away, National Guard.
Right. That's right.
And then, it was Barack Obama who had Just Say We Can, Just Say We Can, not the NASA director, Anthony Weiner in Sharknado.
Sir, are we launching?
We can't.
Yeah,
So-
we can't. Not yes, we can.
The president is in charge of NASA. He's saying, yes, we can, and you're saying we can't.
First of all, it's NASA, and second of all, it's Sharknado. Get it right. That's what this whole thing began with. But, the funny thing was I was not eaten by the shark at the end of Sharknado, and I thought that meant they wanted me back for the next one. But alas, no.
There are more clips here that were submitted to the Academy Award for your very prestigious nomination in leading, actually, not the leading male category. What was that? The
most likely to be eaten by a shark, something like that?
Yes.
Colonel, this is Director Regina. We're not hearing any response.
You see that? That was declarative. You took charge.
Did you make Justin go through that whole movie and clip my little bit parts?
Yes.
Oh, my
yes.
God.
One more.
Without the fuel tank, how can they retrieve Colonel Shepard?
They can't. And he knew that.
Wow.
See that?
Tearjerker. You're getting a little welled up and emotional, even just from that clip.
Justin wants to bail out. He said that was enough. But anyway, it's a big day for President Joe Biden. He's going to be giving a press conference. They say at about 5:30 tonight, about an hour, no notes, freestyle with the reporters. What are you predicting is going to happen?
He's got to do. He had to do this from the moment that debate ended. 2 hours in the Rose Garden. Do it under hot sun, wear out the reporters, take every... The problem is he can't do it. So he did George Stephanopoulos, and he didn't do that well. Then he called into Morning Joe and didn't do that well. The problem, he just doesn't have the tools to do what you need to do to reinstill confidence. But we're all walking on eggshells. And now the latest news that broke in the last hour, apparently they're polling Harris versus Trump. And, listen, Harris is a better candidate. But the amazing thing, you explain this to me. How can it be with that debate performance, Trump is still leading by like 2 points? It should be like 70-30 based on that debate performance, but the American people are not that into Trump.
Will he self-destruct in that 1 hour before the reporters, right after the NATO conference late today?
Yes, Curtis, he will. I have no idea. Look, I think he has a very, very tough time at this point. And the problem is, a long day of meetings. What I'm hearing from my colleagues, to be honest, my former colleagues, a lot of them didn't want to turn against Joe during the NATO summit. After that summit ends, you may see a lot of Democrats
But
starting to flip.
there's the anchor at NBC who's saying, hold on, Joe, I've got my one-on-one interview. Who is that? Lester Holt. Please don't self-destruct tonight. I need to go one-on-one with you on Monday.